to order the meeting of the Park and Rec Commission, and I'll hand it over to Marco for the introductory rules.
Great. Thank you, Jill, and thank you, everyone, and welcome to the September virtual-only meeting. It's our last one of the year. My name is Marco Rivero. I am the staff liaison to the Park and Recreation Commission. I would like to remind our attendees that the PRC meeting will be recorded, and that just began about a minute ago. We ask that presenters and attendees please mute your microphones if you're not speaking. During virtual only or hybrid meetings, commissioners joining virtually and who are eligible to vote must have their cameras on for the duration of the meeting for purposes of meeting quorum. For those attending via telephone, you can mute and unmute your microphones by dialing *6. The chat box will be monitored to address any technical or procedural questions during the meeting, but should not be used for meeting discussion. Commissioners should use their raise your hand function on the top toolbar to be recognized during commission discussion. Assigned presenters may share their screens using the share content box above. And actually, since we do have a voting item tonight, I will ask that commissioners who are participating, please raise your hands for those votes, and we'll make that reminder once we have that item come forward to us. As way of information, we will be holding a public comment period. In order to be recognized, please use the raise your hand function, and each public commenter will have up to 3 minutes for public comment. Staff will signal to the speaker once time is up. Thank you very much, and I'll turn it over back to our chair.
Great. So thank you, Marco. And before we take on the approval of the minutes, well, let's go ahead and take on approval of the minutes. I'd like to hear a motion to approve the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes.
Oh. Gary said yes, and somebody else will say second. Who is it? Is that
Shruti?
Shruti. Thank you, Shruti. All in favor, indicate by saying aye or raising your hand. All against?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. And I'm just so excited to introduce you to our 3 new commissioners. We have Erica Allen, Andrew Demetrio, and William Way. He goes by Will. I think I might have said Bill at some point, so stop using that and say Will or William. Thank you. So I'll turn to Erica first for just a brief introduction, and then we'll go to Will, and then we'll go to Andrew. So Erica.
Hi guys. Thanks for having me join y'all. I've been living in Arlington for about 4 years now, and one of the things that kind of drew me in right away is the access to nature and natural spaces in this area. And I actually found out about about this commission through my work with the Arlington Master Naturalist program. And I just love finding different ways to get involved within the community. And I'm just really excited to contribute to this commission and learn a lot and grow a lot. And I look forward to working with all of you guys.
Great. Thank you so much, Erica. Welcome.
Welcome, Erica.
Will?
Hey, everyone. Thank you for the honor of joining you all. Just like Erica said, I've been in Arlington for, I guess, almost 20 years, and benefited from all the parks and recreation facilities. Worked on some older adult issues, and look forward to joining you. Thank you.
Thank you. And Andrew?
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Andrew Demetrio. I'm a relatively recent resident of Arlington. I actually moved here in May, but I have prior experience serving on Parks Board, having done so in Benton County, Oregon, about a decade ago. So I'm really excited to see the different challenges posed in a slightly more urban county here in Arlington relative to where I was. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what we can do to help improve this community. So
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. We're excited. And please always feel free to ask questions of me or Marco or any of the commissioners. Okay, do we have any public commenters?
I don't see anyone that was pre-registered, and I don't believe we have any on the call tonight.
Okay, so that'll take 15 minutes off our schedule. All right, so now it's time to turn it over to Bethany Heim about the Eads Park public space naming.
Joe, before you do that, who's the unknown user?
That's Lizzie from the Sports
Oh.
Commission.
Got it. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Hello, I am a park planner in the Parks Department, and I'm going to present on the park renaming for the 23rd and East site. Let me share my screen. Okay. So this here is the site. It is just a very small 900 square foot plot of land next to the Royal Pawn Shop and the Aurora Highlands Civic Association. I'm trying to go to the next. I'm trying to go to the next slide, and it's not working.
Bethany, do you need me to upload the presentation and I can help roll it through?
For some reason, now that I stopped sharing it, it is advancing to the next slide. Let me try one more time, okay?
Sure.
Okay. Oh, here we go. All right. Again, it's approximately 900 square feet. It's located in the Aurora Highlands Civic Association in the National Landing Bid. The goal is to create a welcoming and inviting public space, to provide a place for visitors to gather and rest, to enhance the aesthetics and visibility into the site, and update the site furnishings and add amenities, and to continue to offer casual use. Here is a map of the county, and the park is right here where the red star is. Oh dear, now it's not advancing again. Very strange. Marco, maybe I do need you to share it.
Sure, I'll go ahead and do that. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, we're on the third slide.
Right. Thank you. So the funding for this was in the adopted fiscal year 2021 capital improvement plan. It's the funding comes from TIF, and the budget is $475,000. This is not a lot of money, and this money goes towards designing the site, surveying work, permitting, soft cost, and construction. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with this site, but it's going to be kind of challenging. There really is no place for the construction team to kind of set up and just to kind of set up and lay out their materials and their construction work. So that may affect the cost. All right, Alonzo, I'm sorry, Marco, if you want to go forward. So we already had an engagement in June, and it was an online engagement. We had 88 people respond. Most of the feedback came from the neighborhood, and about 76% of the people who took the online feedback form lived nearby or they ate at the local restaurants nearby. And we also, in our engagement, we asked if people supported renaming the park from 23rd Street South and Southeast Park to something else. And we also asked for suggestions. And some of the suggestions that we received was 23rd Street Park or Plaza, Aurora Highlands Plaza or Mini Park, Firehouse Park, and some people wanted us to keep the current name. And we also got Restaurant Row Park and Zavarella Park. And Firehouse Park and Zavarella Park are highlighted in green because they have a historical context. Marco, do you want to go to the next slide? So the first engagement brought new information about the historical uses in and near the park. The first engagement asked for input on potentially changing the name of the park and requested suggestions. The current park site and adjacent land was the home of the Jefferson Davis Volunteer Fire Department, specifically Squad 5. And in the upper right, you can see a picture of that firehouse that was located partially on the park site and partially on the adjacent land. The fire station was demolished in 1952. Zavarella Music, and then there was the Zavarella Music, which sold musical instruments and operated out of the building next to the park where the Royal Pawn is currently located. While there were no names suggested referencing the historic streetcar, there was a trolley station at the present-day 7-Eleven. The Northern Virginia Trolley were a network of electric streetcars that moved people around the Northern Virginia suburbs of Washington, D.C. from 1892 to 1941. And in the lower right, you can see a just an old image of the streetcar or the trolley. Andrew, do you have your hand up? Okay.
I don't mean to interrupt if you're presenting. I do have a few comments about this site as I actually am pretty well acquainted with it.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. I should probably wait until the end of the presentation.
I'm sorry. I did not know if you were ending the presentation. I'm
No,
sorry.
not yet. Not yet. Yeah, I haven't presented in the Park and Rec Commission for a while, so I'm a little bit rusty. All right. Do you want to go to the next slide, Marco? And then also we did get a recommendation to name the park Restaurant Row to reflect the popular nearby restaurant industry. All right, next slide. So here is our county review process. So right now, this is presented as an information item to gather feedback from the Park and Rec Commission. Then we go to Historical Affairs and Landmark Review Board. We do have one more engagement with the community, which will happen probably in mid-October. And after that engagement, we will go to HLRB and present to them all the recommended names as well as any feedback that I receive from you. And then from there, we will go to the Arlington Neighborhoods Advisory Committee, then back to the Park and Recreation Commission for a final vote and input on the name, and then ultimately to the county board in early 2025. Okay. It's Marco. And then, so the anticipated construction start date would be summer of 2025. We anticipate the park opening in the summer of 2026. And if you want to follow this project, if you can go to the project page and you can follow us by adding your email address. And that is it. Any questions or comments?
Hi, thank you so much, Bethany, for that presentation. Just for everybody's benefit, the Park and Rec Commission has the responsibility ultimately of recommending to the county board the names of our parks, and then the board actually votes on them, which is why we're getting this presentation. It's mostly about the name of the park. So I just want to give you that background. Okay, Andrew's got his hand up, so Andrew, please proceed.
Yeah, thank you. This is, as I've mentioned, I'm relatively new to this area, but I actually do know this park quite well as I live in Crystal City. And while I understand that this discussion is largely about the name of the park, I did not know that there was I did not know that it was a park. I honestly thought it was relatively indistinguishable from building setbacks. And I'm glad that there is some project to improve it, but looking at the individual site, I don't like using the term no man's land, but it's right on the periphery between a relatively blighted area and a relatively thriving area. While the Restaurant Row is a really nice area of really close-in streets, a really nice place to dine, local neighbors love it. You go to the other side of where the park is, you cross the street and you have, well, on one side of the park, you've got a pawn shop, and then you have a gentleman's club and a 7-Eleven. So it's an area in which I go by there. I actually unicycle there usually about 10 p.m. every night. There's a lot of people who are there, often quite intoxicated on whatever the substance, leaving the gentleman's club or the 7-Eleven. So it's not really a friendly place. And looking back at it from Google Street View, you can actually go back and see it. And you can see in 2011, there'd been a bunch of work done on the park. They'd cut down the big trees there, but they'd also put up kind of a fence between them and the old pawn shop to hide the dumpsters. But noticeably, it was also a bit more available and accessible in that there weren't the cars in a turning lane right next to it. So it's not like there's cars 3 or 4 feet from you when you're in the middle of the park. And I've noticed since 2011, in some ways it's regressed a little bit. We've gotten rid of the bike sharing thing there. It's just become a turn lane. And while the shade has improved on those trees, I really did not know that it was a park. So I'm appreciative of this, but if I'm going to give any comment about the name, it would be, I would focus on the placemaking, and I would probably prefer something along the lines of Restaurant Row, because anybody can have a 23rd Street park, but this is something that better identifies the usage of the space with the nearby businesses and what people like the area for. So I will not ramble, but thank you.
Yeah, that's very helpful feedback. Thank you. Shruti, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for your comments, Andrew. I agree with you about the area. I do think it's up and coming, and I see the importance of naming a park to be part of the wayfinding that gets folks to that area, makes it a place that you are saying, hey, we're meeting at this park. So hopefully that blight will improve over time. Definitely some work in progress. That being said, I actually would love to hear from HLRB when this gets passed to them next. I think the historical angle is a great one. I think the Zavarella Park name is a very interesting one. We don't have anything like that in the area. And I'd love to hear from HLRB their feedback on naming it Firehouse Park as well, given it is a firehouse previously named for a Confederate general. So my current vote, which isn't actually official because we will not vote on it until we hear back from Bethany after it makes its rounds. But my unofficial vote right now would be for Zavarella Park, just for the zazziness of it all.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Oh, I see Alex. Yep.
Do we know what the music store who was named from? Was it the proprietors of it?
That's my understanding. It was the owners. And it looks as though it was closed down in 2002.
I think we have talked about in the past having an unofficial moratorium on naming parks after people. And I think that would apply here.
You mean people who are still alive or any people? Because we did Zidkalis Shaw, the Native American woman, but she had passed away in the 30s, I think.
And is this for a family or is it an individual? I think that's another clarification, right? To
I think it's a
understand
family name. I think it's a family name.
Yeah, it's the last name.
So I guess that's one piece of feedback, Bethany, are the people still alive? Well, for me anyway, are the people still alive, and are they still around here?
That is a good question. I will reach out to the Historic Affairs staff and see, what more we can find. Since it was closed down in 2002, I'm guessing the family is still around, but I'll do some searches and see what I can find.
Okay, thank you. Alex, did you have any more you wanted to?
No, my only other observation was that it has been so long since the firehouse is closed. I mean, we're talking about 3 generations away at this point. I'm not sure that actually gives anybody any information. I actually think Restaurant Row would be a lot more relevant.
Okay, thank you. Melissa?
Yeah, I also had thoughts on Zavarella in that it is very unique, as in you would know exactly what park you're talking about. Restaurant Row, I mean, I agree that actually does fit the area, it seems like. I would also disagree with Firehouse just because it's so generic and we have many firehouses in Arlington. So, I just feel like if we had to choose between them, it really would be, I think the Zavarella, if we are still naming them after people, would be a good idea. But if that's a discussion point, perhaps not. But yeah, Restaurant Row or Zavarella would be the picks from my side.
Yeah, I guess to go with Zavarella, I would feel the need for a little bit more robust affection expressed by the neighbors towards the music store, and would like to see, I don't know, it's probably not possible, but to have some kind of musical connection So I guess I'm also leaning toward Restaurant Row, but obviously we're not voting tonight. So, okay, just in the interest of time, does anybody have anything else? Otherwise, we'll wrap up this discussion unless we need to give you any other feedback, Bethany. Is that enough for you to go on?
That's enough. But to be on the lookout for an email in October to take part in the next online engagement and to fill out the questionnaire. That would be really helpful.
Great. Thank you so much. And
thank you.
I'd like to keep you on the screen for just a second because I'd like to introduce you also as our new co-liaison. Marco, do you want to explain a little more detail?
Marco,
sure.
So we actually have two folks from the county who work with me right now. So Michael Cullen has been our co-liaison for this commission, basically doing a lot of the virtual configuration and help and monitoring of the chat and providing any sort of support that we would need during the meeting. And he's been in that role for almost 8 or 9 months, if not a year. So I wanted to thank him for serving in that role during that time. And this is actually his last month serving in that role. And we are welcoming Bethany Heim into that role officially starting next month.
So welcome, Bethany, and thank you, Michael. We will miss you, but we appreciate, as I said earlier, we haven't had to call on him because everything goes so smoothly. So we don't really, do much to acknowledge him, but it's because he does such a good job. So thank you, Michael, and welcome, Bethany. All right. So now we're on the part of the meeting where we talk about the Bill Thomas Park Volunteer Award for this year. And Alex, I'll turn it over to you. You and Nelson were the committee members this year.
Yes, so Nelson couldn't be here tonight, so I'm going to step in and talk a little bit about the process. So this is the Bill Thomas Volunteer Award. This is given to one outstanding volunteer every year who best epitomizes the values of the county and in their work in park areas in the county. And we've had many wonderful Bill Thomas awardees in the past. We had 5 applicants this year, which is a fair number. I haven't only been on the committee twice, so I don't know whether that's common or not, but it's certainly more than we had last year. We had 3 individuals and 2 groups, and the people who were nominated were Caroline Hayes, the Friends of Mount Vernon Trail. They were also nominated last year. The Tree Stewards, Noreen Hannigan and Tom Corns. And 2 of these people, Caroline Haynes and Noreen Hannigan, are members of ARMAN, the Regional Master Naturalist, and are integral members of that group. And have been for quite some time, as well as being park volunteers. Caroline has been on innumerable county commissions and boards and has played a large role in all kinds of park and natural resources policies now for many years. Mr. Corns has been a longtime volunteer of a park in Cherrydale, and has done fine work there. The Friends of Mount Vernon Trail are an NGO that work closely with the Park Service on working on the Mount Vernon Trail, and they do a lot of maintenance. And of course, this covers both Arlington and Alexandria, so they're not exclusive to Arlington. And the Tree Stewards are another group that we're pretty familiar with at this point. They worked very closely with the county, and have been crucial in supporting the urban foresters in the county on a whole host of initiatives. So some really outstanding applicants this year. It was not easy to pick out a single winner, but we coalesced around Caroline Hayes. It's impossible to come up with a candidate who would be stronger than her. And in any other year, it would have been even harder. But I mean, she has done an enormous amount of work for the county. I wouldn't even start going on all the commissions and the boards and everything she's been on. She has shaped natural resources policy, perhaps more than any single citizen in this county now for years, as well as being crucial on Arnhem. She has been on this commission. She has been now on urban forestry and natural resources. Pardon?
She chaired this commission.
Yes, and for many years, and continues to be very much involved in field work with the master naturalists as well. So it was an excellent group of candidates, but it was an easy decision based on her own background and her own contributions.
Thank you, Alex. And there was a person from so it was you and Nelson, and there was also a person from the county on the voting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that was Michael Simmons.
Yeah. Great. So our task tonight is to vote on writing a letter to the county board with our recommendation. So I take that as a committee motion because it's coming from the committee. We'll wait. We're not allowed to have committees, right? Anyway, Alex, will you please make the motion that we write the letter?
Make a motion that we write or accept Nelson's draft letter, since he's already drafted it for us.
Yes.
That we accept that.
All right. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Thank you. And Melissa, you still have your hand up. Did you have something you wanted to say?
No, I am just a fool and didn't take it down after my comments on the park.
You're not a fool. You're never a fool. Okay, so now we can have discussion. Thank you for that. So is there any discussion? I'd like to start by saying Carolyn Haynes is one of my mentors and heroes, heroines. She not only started the Arlington Regional Master Naturalist, maybe 20 years ago now, but she is now still serving on the Forestry and Natural Resources Committee. She has chaired the Joint Natural Resources Joint Advisory Group. She and David Howe almost single-handedly got through the biophilic resolution that we now live with and are happy with. So those are just a few of the things I know about her. So I really endorse this this nomination. Okay, anybody else? Oh, I see Shrudi's hand.
I concur, Jill. Carolyn is also one of my heroines and mentors. She recruited me to be part of this commission, got me involved in Arlington, all things Parks and Rec, introduced me, made me always feel like I had a seat at the table. And as like a 22-year-old starting off doing things in the county, that was so impactful. I'm so pleased that we're able to honor her in this profound way. So thank you for the work, Alex. I think this is really going to mean a lot to her, and I think everyone who loves her, which is most people that know her. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Alex and the committee. Is there any other discussion? All right, hearing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor, either raise your hand electronically or in real life.
All right. Let's see here. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to go to the next screen. 6, 7, 8, 9. So I see 9 hands raised and then 2 virtually, I think. 3. So that's 12. That's unanimous.
That's a unanimous. That's great. Okay, so the motion passes, and can we entrust you and Nelson to write the letter for us, Alex?
I would hope so.
All right, and then Nelson, as the chair, I think has been tapped to help organize the party. So what happens is the same day that we have a meeting in October, which is October 22nd, then we will have a presentation of this award. Nelson or Alex will make a short speech honoring
It,
or
it
somebody.
will not be me because I will be
It'll
out
be-
of
Okay, well, it was you last year, so I guess I'm just defaulting. Anyway, one of our members will make a little speech honoring Carolyn Haynes before the county board, and then the county board will bestow an honor. There will be a certificate, there will be a photo opportunity, and then there will be a party across the hall in a gathering room. And so it's always awkward because we have a couple hours after the party ends before our meeting starts. And so do we go home or do we just stay there? But we'll figure that out when the time comes. All right, any questions about the presentation? Will be TBD, but it'll probably be around 3:30 or 4.
Yes, I think it'll be during the county board's recessed meeting on that day, but not the evening session. Instead, it'll be on the afternoon session, which begins at 3 p.m.
Okay, okay. And they usually take that towards the beginning.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so pencil in 3 p.m. on October 22nd. Great. Thank you so much for that wonderful work. We appreciate it. Okay, we're running a little bit ahead of schedule. So this is the part. So I don't know how many of you have heard about Arlington 2050 initiative. This is the one where you write postcards to the future. So what we're going to do, we have been requested as Melissa, do you still have some? You don't have something to say, right? Okay. So I'm going to read you from a letter from the county board. And then Marco is going to put up on the screen the electronic version of the postcard from the future. And then we're going to take 5 minutes or less, however long it takes you. And I hope each of you will fill this out and hit submit, which is down at the bottom. Oh, wait a minute, Marco. They each have to have their own screen, right? I mean, they each have to have their own link. So maybe I should put the link in the chat.
Oh, the link is on the chat already. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, okay. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to read 3 paragraphs from this letter. Then you're going to click the link, fill out the postcard from the future in about 5 minutes. And then with whatever time we have remaining, we're going to have a discussion with 2 prompts. The first prompt is, what are your group's top 3 priorities? And in 2050, what new issues do you think your group will be focusing on? So we have like, 25 minutes. And so I'm going to cue it up. The first part is from the county board. The middle part is you as an individual. And then the third part is Parks and Rec Commission as a group. Any questions before I get started?
Jill, can you please repeat those 2 questions again?
In 2050, what new issues do you think your group will be focusing on?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so here I'm going to start reading. Community building and robust civic organization and engagement have always been core facets of Arlington's culture. The county does its best when its residents are engaged and empowered. That is why the board is taking this year to hear from colleagues, residents, and neighbors across Arlington on what they believe our community should look like 25 years from now. We are requesting the Park and Rec Commission's input into our Arlington 2050 Envisioning Tomorrow Together process. We believe a strategic plan will come from this process, but we are just focusing on visioning this year. Think of this process like planning a trip with a family or friends somewhere. Everyone first decides where they want to go and what they want to do. How are we going to get there and what do we need? And of course, how much is this going to cost are questions that naturally come later, but only after you've decided where you want to go. So we are asking you 2 things. Number 1, please complete a postcard from the future. While simple, we believe it will help jumpstart thinking and conversations on this topic. Number 2, hold a brief discussion at your next meeting to share your thoughts with your colleagues but please think and discuss through the lens of your group's priorities. And then it gives the 2 prompts. Okay, so if there's any questions, let me know, but otherwise everybody should click on the link. If you haven't already done this, some of you have been in other contexts and done this. So please click on the link. If we were in person, I would hand out little pieces of paper, but since we're not, just click on the link and we'll take a few minutes to, should we say 5 minutes to fill it out?
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
I will just make a note in the chat, Jill, just so that if there are any new people joining in, that this is what we're doing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Can I turn off my camera and finish the rest of my dinner now?
Yes, I think for 5 minutes, it's okay.
Jill, I ate in front of everyone, so.
I can hear you. Can you get it?
So I said I ate in front of everyone. So.
Oh, I didn't notice. Everybody doing okay?
Just for folks that didn't see the chat, we will reconvene in about 3 minutes.
Okay. All right, we got 1 minute left. If you don't finish in this 1 minute, you can always go back and finish it when the meeting's over. But I think they do it this way because they know human nature is to not do it unless you have this type of group pressure. So my clock says 7:45. Marco, does yours?
Sure does.
Okay. So thank you all for doing that little exercise. So now we're supposed to have a discussion, and we have left on our agenda until 8:05. So we have like 20 minutes to have a discussion about our top 3 priorities, and in 2050, what new issues do you think our group will be focusing on? I think the priorities should be pretty clear from I know you all did your homework and read the draft charter, which says the mission, oh wait, let me see. The park and, well, anyway, here it is. The PRC shall advise the county board and advise the county board and make studies, develop recommendations, conduct public meetings and educational programs, and furthering the objectives that we've already stated above. So I'm sorry, I'm not really well prepared for this. I thought it was going to be easier than this, but essentially dynamic programming, dynamic affordable programming, attractive public spaces, while maintaining and enhancing the county's natural resources to promote biodiversity and sustainability and a healthy and active community. That's really more than 3, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to stop. Who wants to go next? Andrew.
My emphasis was primarily on land use and public space decisions. At the end of the day, whether it's 50 years ago, 100 years ago, or now, cities are habitat for humans. I mean, they can be habitat for other creatures as well. But at the end of the day, having accessible pedestrian spaces, not just for parks, but also for getting from place to place for connectivity, that's going to be key. And we know that the economic benefits of pedestrian spaces exist. We know that there are health benefits to pedestrian spaces, and we know there are benefits for people who are looking to have kids. So focus on pedestrian spaces.
Great. Okay. Shruti?
Yeah, I put down high urbanization as the first one, and really goes in line with my second one, which is similar to Andrew's conservable land use space for the county and ultimately for public space. And then my third one, sorry, just to be quick, my third one was on basically like fitting everything into the land that we have. So I'm thinking about concepts like biophilia, obviously, when we're thinking about how many trees per resident is necessarily in our county, and how do we reconcile that given some of the other pressures with people and space.
Great. Melissa?
I'm definitely just echoing what everyone else has already said, but the focus on land use and sustainability. I had mentioned a lot about the like bikeability and public transit as well in there, which is not really our thing specifically, but it does tie in with how the land is used and how we can keep things more biophilic in Arlington.
Great, thank you. William?
Yeah, thanks, Jill. I like the focus on people, but I think demographics of Arlington are going to be changing, and especially older adults. So in 25 years, there'll be a lot more older adults than 18 and under. So, I think demographics might be a focus that I would like. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Erica.
Yeah, just kind of echoing what a lot of people have said. I think accessibility to outdoor spaces, I think, is very key. But I also think like just knowledge of, how our outdoor spaces should look, how they should operate, kind of welcoming more naturally inclined spaces so that people can more interact with their natural spaces in a more informed way.
Great, thank you. I don't see any other hands up. William, your hand is up. Do you have more to say or? Okay.
No, I just forgot to take it down. Thank you.
Okay. Are we ready to go to the next one?
I see Adam's hand is up.
Oh, Adam, go ahead. I think you're on mute, Adam, or you froze. Oh, he's unfrozen.
Sorry.
There.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So, yeah, the two areas that I focused on were the efficient use of the space we have, and also the affordability of living in Arlington, regardless of income level.
Great. Yeah, that's a big concern. That's not really our group's direct concern, but
Yep.
But we have tension with it all the time when we sit on these site planning review processes and
Right.
see the density and have the tension of wanting to have enough public space or natural space for all the people that we need to accommodate.
Jill, I see in the chat, Neil provided a comment as well. I'll go ahead and read it.
Sure.
I was focused on how we balance water drainage and flooding with rapid urbanization. Particularly important is how we manage erosion along a lot of the waterways around the area that will have significant impacts on the future of the county, as many of these waterways run along our public park space.
That's an excellent point, Neil. And we have on, I think we will have on our next agenda in October, a presentation from the Department of Environmental Services and their stormwater runoff program. Okay. Anybody want to respond to anything somebody else said? I think everybody's pretty much on the same page. Why don't we spend a couple minutes talking about what new issues do you think we'll be focusing on in 2050? Will kind of kicked that off already by talking about the aging population in 2050. I mean, have you thought through, Will, anything about, what that will mean for parks or, the environment?
Sure. So, people of different ages will use parks differently. Of course, younger school age children will want to use the fields and that sort of thing. Whereas one thing that I've heard from older adults is, hey, for example, Lover Run, I can't get to, this is more of a bus issue maybe. The bus stop is on George Mason. Is it George Mason? Yeah. And I can't get to the entrance of Lover Run. And also, how accessible are they from the street, that sort of thing. I think 55 plus centers are the meals are at 3 places. And so, I'm not exactly sure what the capacity of those 3 places, but as there are more older adults, you may have to expand the capacity to have older adults go to those places. And at Langston you have Arlington Mill and Walter Reed. So those are some of the accessibility, transportation to get to those places, and internal facilities. And of course the nature areas, are the walkways accessible, that sort of thing. Those older adults getting to the place, and what do they enjoy, and are the facilities and the nature areas accessible? Those are some of the things that I'm thinking. And where are they located? A lot of older adults are in 22207. But of course, you have a lot of older adults, who are recent migrants, perhaps around Arlington Mill and South Arlington. So those are some of the things that I've been thinking about. Thanks, Joe.
Great, thank you. I think Neil kicked off one too when he talked about stormwater. If if all our stream banks are eroded the way Windy Run is, that Eric and I hiked that day, and Windy Run has supposedly been addressed. I don't know exactly. We can ask Eileen next month about what's planned for that. I mean, if that continues at that pace, we're not, we don't have enough land now. We're going to have even less land, right? So I think that's an important consideration. Gary, I see your hands up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that although I hope this isn't what we have in store for us in the future, my sense is that we have a trend where it's less and less common for kids growing up to spend time in our natural areas, enjoying nature, whether it's plants or native wildlife, what have you. And so I think we will need to have in place some sort of program that really helps pull our youth into our parks, because I think the trend now is to have them spend a lot more time than kids when I was growing up, playing video games and being on computers and not being in parkland just for the joy of being around nature. And I'd like to make sure that we make sure that kids are pulled into that, so they appreciate how important it is and how beneficial it is to have they feel their confidence, their appreciation for natural beauty, all of those kinds of things. So I hope we can have programs in place to really pull people out of their houses and throw them into the parks so they can have those wonderful experiences that we've all enjoyed.
Yeah, I remember when I was first park steward at Upton Hill and COVID hit, right? And there's a whole bunch of kids that live in the apartment complex on the borders, the parking lot there. And every time I went to the park, all those kids would be in the parking lot. They wouldn't be in the wooded areas. So that I feel you, and I would really like to change that. But the same is true because there's for older adults, they also don't go into the wooded areas because it's not, and there's a big older adult facility that also borders that park. But because the footing is a little bit hazardous for people who are a bit unbalanced. So I hear you on that, Gary. Well, we have 10 more minutes to keep talking, but we don't have to if you're done. But Marco is taking notes. Thank you, Marco. And you won't be attributed. There won't be any attribution to any of the comments, but
if I could add a comment.
Oh, sure.
And that is, it's not a new one, but I think it's going to command more and more of the county's time and resources and more of ours, is going to be all the impacts from climate change in the next 25 years. It's going to affect these questions about water and erosion. We're going to have, by that point, we're going to have experienced the impacts of several more rounds of diseases in our trees. Beech leaf disease isn't 25 years away. It's maybe a year or two away at this point. And there'll be more. And so we're going to be spending, I think, a lot of our time and resources defending what we've got and maintaining tree canopy. It's going to be harder and harder, I think, for us to expand the tree canopy. We're going to be spending a lot of our time just trying to hold on to what we have and replace what we lose.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
That sort of says it all. Okay. Well, I'm happy to keep the floor open, but I also don't want to belabor something if we're all done. So going once, going twice. Okay. Okay, we can go on to the next thing. Thank you, Marco, for taking those notes, and thank you for the thoughtful discussion. I'm a bit sorry that we're doing it in hybrid. I think if we did it in real life, it would be a lot more robust. So if anybody wants to, we can put this on another future agenda.
And just also as a reminder, Jill, that since the meeting is being recorded, I mean, a lot of these comments will be taken into consideration too, as part of the notes that I'm taking. So.
Thank you. The next up is staff report, and you're going to lead with the WNOD trail thing.
Yes. So before that, I just wanted to say there was a staff report that was shared with the commission ahead of time. There are no items that I wanted to speak on those. However, we did receive another update from our colleagues in the Department of Environmental Services regarding the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority's approval of Nova Parks' request to voluntarily withdraw the Arlington WOND Trail Enhancements Project and return that allocation back to the NVTA authority. So that is something that occurred, and I know that this commission had been tracking this effort for quite some time. So I wanted to then turn it over to Jill if she had any other thoughts on that.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring everybody's attention to this. This has been kicking around for quite a few years. This is the proposal to expand the WNOD trail from the Arlington, I guess it's Fairfax border, all the way to DC. It comes together in the Falls Church. I guess it's Falls Church border with Arlington. But it goes through a riparian area. And we had a presentation on this. And at first, anyway, the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority did designate $600,000 for them to go to design on it. And Arlington County Board had to basically, wave its hands and say that was okay without making any other real strong commitments. So for some reason, it's been withdrawn. And the letter doesn't really specify, it just says about more consultation before but they're going to come back at it again. So I don't know if it has to do with the Sparrow Pond renovation that's going on in that same riparian area and whether they want to rethink that or what. So I just wanted to call that out because I know a bunch of us were looking at that. Okay, Marco, you keep going.
And that's it for my end in terms of staff reports.
Sorry. Okay.
No, it's okay.
Did anybody have any questions of Marco for the staff reports? Usually for the new people, we don't go through each item. So if you read it and you have any questions, we can bring that up now. Okay, hearing none, then the next is the commissioner member reports. And the very first one, I'm going to pick on Bill. Oh dear, he doesn't even have any homework yet. But we do have our 55 plus commission designation empty. And we were wondering, Bill, if you might like to fill that for us.
Sure, that'd be great.
I don't think you said in your introduction, but Bill, I'm doing it again. Bill, I'm so sorry. Will is the chair of the Commission on Aging for Arlington County. So he's kind of taking over the seat that Dean Foster used to have. So thank you, Will. I have written down Bill. That's my problem.
Okay, thanks. Yep, glad to handle it.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, and I see we have Gerald Brandt on from APS. I just wanted to let you know, Gerald, I think Gary Schinders is going to be in touch with you soon to talk about the confluence of Arlington Public Schools and the Parks and Rec Commission. All right, and we had a nice report from Neil in several places. Those are nice, succinct reports, Neil. I'd like everybody to take notice of Neil's 2 to 3 sentence reports. Try to copy that when you can. Okay, the next thing we wanted to talk about was the new Metro Market Square. We need a representative for that one.
And Jill, I can, oh, I'm sorry, Andrew, I think your hand is up.
Oh, sorry.
I'd be more than happy to do that. From what I've read about it, it looks like they're looking to add a little bit of a little bit of almost like a street market to it, a little bit of consideration for temporary pushcart retail. That would be fascinating.
Yeah, Marco is the designer. Go ahead, Marco.
Yeah, I wanted to provide at least an update on where we are with that process. So right now we are kicking off very soon the first engagement for the park master planning efforts for this Metro Market Square public space. It is going to be, well, it's identified within the Crystal City sector plan as a future public space for development, which is bookended between the existing Crystal City Metro Station entrance and a new one on the east side of the site, which is currently under construction. And we're working now with DES, the Department of Environmental Services, on coordinating both that effort, and then there's going to be an effort on the 18th Street South improvements, sidewalk and road improvements that are just adjacent to this public space area. And the sector plan provides some guidance related to the kinds of activities that may occur here, but we will be casting a wider net to the community to have them provide an opportunity for visioning and any ideas that could come from that related to potential park programming, improvements to circulation within the space, any considerations and issues that might be identified as part of topography, as part of utilities underneath this space, and all of that would need to be considered as part of this public space development. So long-winded way of saying that we are going to be kicking off the public engagement for this later on this fall. So we would welcome any support and involvement from the PRC. So thank you, Andrew, for volunteering for that as well.
Yeah, that's great, Andrew. Is anybody else interested? We usually have 2 people on each one.
I'd be down to check it out and help out with that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Erica.
Thank you, Erica.
Let's see. The Neighborhood Conservation Advisory Committee is vacant, but it's been that way for a long time, so we don't have to dwell on that one. The next vacant one is the 6045 Wilson Boulevard Special Glove Study. That's right close to the park where I'm a park steward, so I'm happy to take that one on if anybody wants to help, but I think it's going to be a fairly small one. All right, and then Crystal City Block W is coming up. There's some other phase that's happening to that one, but Shruti is willing to continue on that one, right, Shruti?
Yes, I am.
Thank you so much. Okay, the next one we have open is the Hotel Pentagon site on Glebe Road.
Yeah, that's near the Shirlington area. I believe it's going to be a new residential project.
Oh, okay. Is anybody interested in that one in particular?
And what I can do too is I can share maybe links to those SPRC pages so that y'all have an idea of what these projects consist of as well.
Okay, well, we can put my name down for now, but if anybody develops an interest in that, we would like to hear from you. And then, and the other new one is the Transportation Plan Advisory Group. I thought we had to have this decision earlier, so I reached out to Daniel. I think he'd be great on this, and he said he would be willing to do it. So this is our chance to bless that appointment, Daniel. We still, have you had any action on that yet? I think that's probably not yet met, has it?
Yeah, they set up our first meeting. I think we've got it on the calendar for next Tuesday.
Oh, good.
and keep
Okay.
going.
And you're on top of it, or you're still
Yep.
pleased to do
Yep,
that?
I'll be there. I'll be there.
That's
and
going to
happy
be a really big deal. Aren't they taking a big comprehensive look at some important issues?
Yeah, it's going to be a wholesale look, and I'm really glad that PRC is getting engaged on it early, just because we'll be a key partner in it, and we'll be looking forward to report back to you all on what we talk about, and definitely we'll keep you all in the loop.
Great, great. Thank you so much for taking that on.
Sure thing.
Okay. Neil,
Jill,
yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Marco, you mentioned about getting a link to that project. What I think it might be helpful if it's possible to have all of those projects have the link to their project.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Because once you set it up, we wouldn't have to obviously redo it just for the new ones. But I think it'd be helpful to have a link to the project in the agenda.
That's a great idea. I'm going to start doing that for future agendas, so that way, once we have these discussions, folks can be informed about them beforehand. So that's great. Thank you for that, Adam.
Yeah,
sure.
Adam. Okay. Are there any? Is there any more discussion on the commissioner reports area? Okay, so we have some internal work to do. Letters to the county. Okay, so we've already talked about the Bill Thomas letter. Thank you, Alex, for forcing Nelson to write the letter or whatever happened. Okay, Kenmore Middle School field renovations. We had some discussion this afternoon with some of the DPR staff, so I'll hand that over to Adam for further information.
Sure. Thanks, Jill. First, Jill, I wanted to thank you for bringing it to my attention about the vote that was taking place with the county board, and thank you to Mark, Daniel, and Alex for responding to my message with their thoughts. It was really helpful. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with this project, there is a large field area it's basically between Kenmore Middle School and Carlin Springs. They call it Kenmore, but it occupies a space in between the two. And there's a number of playing fields, soccer. There's a older baseball diamond there that's no longer in use for diamond sports. And the county, as part of its CIP process, had designated Kenmore for a synthetic turf renovation project. But it wasn't scheduled to be part of the project wasn't supposed to be put in place until 2030. And so the Arlington Sports Foundation and Arlington Soccer Association came in and made the county an offer to put some money into the project so that it can be moved up in the calendar to 2026. I believe is the date was wanted to finish it. And so that kicked off the need for creating a memorandum of understanding between the county and these two private nonprofit organizations. And that process took place, and they agreed on a memorandum of understanding, and then that had to come before the county board for approval. And there were a number of county residents and groups that are concerned about the environmental impact of the synthetic turf fields, and asked for it to be placed on their non-consent agenda last Tuesday. I had reached out to our fellow commissioner members to ask for thoughts about it, the possibility of writing a letter in support of the memorandum of understanding to move the project forward. There wasn't really time to fully get consensus on a letter. So I decided to personally testify before the board on Tuesday. The result of the hearing, so to speak, was that the county did approve the two memorandums of understanding. And so at this point, there really this isn't really good timing for us to be presenting a letter to them, because there's nothing really specifically to support at this point, because the memorandums of understanding have been approved, and the project is therefore kind of moving forward because it's also part of the CIP. And just to kind of finish this up, there were a number of environmental concerns that were brought up, but two of the most, I guess, ones that had the most kind of backing or studies that were the use of the crumb rubber for the infill, and then the PFAS in the grass looking material that's part of the synthetic turf. And the county has addressed both of these issues. In one, they're using an organic material for the infill, no longer using crumb rubber, and they weren't using recycled crumb rubber; they're using virgin, so it was less bad than the recycled kind. But the last two projects they've done, they have used this organic material that's actually made from coconut and walnut seeds. And then the PFAS issue, they are moving forward. I'm not quite sure, and Joe, I don't know if you have any more information, but we're not quite sure whether it's just moving forward or if the last two projects also used PFAS-free materials as well. But moving forward, that's a requirement for any new synthetic turf fields. It would be PFAS-free. So while there are no risks to, there's no way to have no risks to it, there's also risks for having grass fields too, and it ends up being really a cost-benefit analysis. And I'm not going to we put the arguments in here, but I believe that Eric Beecher is going to come and talk to us in the next couple months to give us a update on the project, and we won't be approving anything but at that point, I'd like to see if maybe we could consider a letter in support of the project once we have some information about the details from the project. And there's also a possibility that some of those details could be, controversial and maybe something that we could discuss. So that's the update on that one. Jill, did you want to add any more to that?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we don't have to have Eric come, but I think Adam would like it, and I think everybody would benefit from having the knowledge so that you can impart that to your concerned community members about the environmental integrity of the field. But then Adam reminded me about the details of the design, and that's always something of extreme interest to the community. So I think we should have him come back. He did offer. They're going to have they've had one engagement on this. Sorry, for the new people, engagement is a vocabulary word in Arlington County government, and it means there's certain processes for reaching out to the community and getting feedback. So they already had one engagement on this, and they're going to have another one. And at that stage, and then meeting with us as part of that engagement process. So they're going to meet with us if we want them to. So I think we're having a consensus that we want them to. Does anybody disagree with that? Okay. So I'll let Eric know that or Marco can, that we definitely want them to meet with us. Okay. And everybody's fine with not writing a letter right now? Okay. Thank you. All right. Yeah, thank you so much for taking the lead on that, Adam. All right, the next thing is PRC's legislative priorities. As a lot of you may know, Arlington is hampered more than most community governments by the state laws that restrict communities in Arlington from doing anything unless it's allowed by the state law, which is called the Dillon Rule. So what we have is a situation where every year we put together our priorities for the Virginia State Legislature that will help our local objectives in Arlington. And it has helped. It got us the tree canopy fund and other things like that. So Gary and I worked on this and put together a legislative priorities list that I circulated. So does anybody have any discussion about that? Otherwise, we'll put a letter together with our legislative priorities. Did anybody read it? Okay, everybody agrees. That's great. Thank you. So we'll put that letter together and send it to the board and give you a copy. The next item up is the charter discussion. So we were asked by the county clerk, I think it is, to update our charter every 5 years, and it was last updated in 2019. So we started that process. I went through it. We got a template from the county clerk. Marco has reviewed it, and Claire helped with the drafting. I've reviewed it with Jane Rudolph, the what's her title? Director of the Parks and Recreation Department. And also I sent it to Susan Cunningham, our board representative, but I haven't heard back from her. I think most of the stuff is just hygiene about, what we call legal hygiene, about just making sure all of the powers and authorities are in the right places and we're doing everything right. Another issue is just updating, like the names of certain groups or whatever have changed or don't exist anymore. And I will say in that regard, in the process of doing this, I learned that the Friends of Arlington Parks, I thought was defunct, is actually still active. So more to come on that. We're going to put Friends of Arlington Parks back into the charter. I just found this out today. And more to come on that. And then the last thing about the charter is, I want to say this. We put in a bunch of stuff about biophilia because that motion was passed in between now and the last charter. And we have had comments in the last capital budget and the operating budget about things that are under the jurisdiction of the Department of Environmental Services. So I wanted to kind of push the charter a little bit and allow us formally to comment on those things. Nobody has ever said we're not gonna listen to you or anything like that, but I just thought it was a good idea because, as Neil and others have pointed out, stormwater is an important feature that affects our parks. So that's like probably the only controversial thing I think that's in there. But okay, so that's enough talking. Anybody have any discussion on that? All right, do I have a motion to adopt this? So what will happen is when we adopt a draft charter to send over to the county board, we will forward that in a letter, I guess, and then the county board has to actually adopt. Do you know how this works, Marco? Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not sure I know how it works. Do we adopt our charter and they approve it, or did they adopt our charter?
You know what, Jill? It's been 5 years since the last amendment. So let me look into that so I can provide you the correct answer.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, one way or the other, we'll send the draft that we prepared up to them. And Just in case we need it, can I have a motion that we adopt this charter for purposes of sending to the county board?
I'll motion it, Ms. Adam.
Okay, and a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, Gary seconds it. Okay, all in favor, either raise up your hand or say aye. Or whatever.
Motion passes.
Okay. So one way or the other, we've approved our own charter if that's allowed. And if it's not allowed, we'll get the county board to approve it or ask the county board to approve it. Sorry, that took me by surprise. Okay. So the next meeting is Tuesday, October 22nd. The meeting itself will be in person at 7 p.m. But don't forget, at 3 o'clock on the same day, we'll be having our award ceremony. And I see a hand up from Adam.
Yeah, I wanted to make a proposal. Since we've got some new members and we'll have some time in between the Bill Thomas Awards and that maybe we could have a PRC social hour in between and meet up someplace in courthouse and get to know each other a little bit more before the meeting.
That's
obviously
a great
optional, but
yeah. Do you want to research and recommend a place, or maybe we could just go somewhere? Yeah, if you could send out an email with a proposal, that would be the best, Adam.
sure. Yeah, I mean, as far as where we go, that's there's a few places that we can go down there. I just wanted to get people to put it on their calendars before something else takes it up the time.
Should we say 5:30? Because if we have the ceremony at 3 and the party at 4, and then we could have from 5:30 to 6:45 to socialize.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be flexible. We'd go, as soon as we're done with the party. But I guess we can say, sometime between 5 and 5:30, we'll make our way down there, and people can meet us there if they weren't able to go to the awards.
Great, that's a great idea. I like that. Thank you. Okay, any final comments, thoughts?
Oh,
Questions?
Gary's hand is up.
Oh, Gary's hand's up.
Yes, it'll be very brief. It's in the category of appearing before the board on a matter that impacts our parks. A couple of weeks ago, I appeared before the board to support a proposal from a developer who's going to be renovating a building in Roslyn. And the builder did not want to, as part of that package, continue providing public access to an observation deck that was located in that building. I've lived in Arlington for over 40 years, and I never knew that this great observation deck existed, and took it and failed to take advantage of it. But anyway, the proposal was, if after renovating the building, in return for having exclusive control over that observation deck, the developer would donate $14 million to the restoration of Gateway Park. And so I testified in support of that proposal, and the board did approve it. And so that $14 million is going to be put into the Arlington County coffers to help expedite the renovation of Gateway Park.
Thank you for that report, Gary.
Sure.
So the bottom line is, if you want to go see the observation tower, run.
Yes, immediately.
Which I've never done.
Where can you find information about this observation, Sarah?
I would think if you just Google Arlington or Roslyn observation deck, it'll pop up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on Wilson Boulevard.
Mark, I see your hand is up.
Yes, I also wanted to piggyback off of that, Gary, that actually the commission will be seeing in the future an update by staff regarding the Gateway Park master planning and design guidelines efforts that have kicked off several months ago. As they prepare those materials for review by this commission and others, and then eventually the county board. So be on the lookout for that happening probably within the next 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
And I
you.
was very pleased to see that in the most recent round of soliciting public feedback on the 3 different proposed approaches to renovating Gateway Park, the option that had the most biophilia in it garnered the highest percentage of votes from those who in the public who responded. So it looks like that's the way it's going to be going.
And
probably helped that proposal also had a dog park as part of it.
So to that end, there will be an opportunity to review that final draft park concept very soon. Actually, we'll be starting that engagement very shortly. So be on the lookout for that, and we'll share that with the commission once it becomes live.
Great. Thank you.
I just want to also bring up something that's going on in the background. Is Gary and I are with Jane Rudolph and Susan Cunningham looking into this Friends of Parks. So there's a few organizations. There is actually a Friends of Arlington Parks organization, which we thought was defunct, but we found out today is not. So we're looking into that. We're looking into the Arlington Boathouse Foundation, which is a group that's supporting the boathouse. And then there's the Friends of Gulf Branch Nature Center. And then I found out today, there's another Friends of thing. So we're just trying to understand what these are and maybe try to get some uniformity and get some kind of consistency going to see if there's any interest in doing like a larger Friends of Parks effort. But I don't know that. But at some time in the future, we'll be coming back to you. So if you hear of any Friends of groups in Arlington that I haven't named yet, keep your ear to the ground and we'd like to know about that. Does anybody have anything? We have a few minutes, but I'll just go ahead and ask, has anybody got any burning issues or questions that they would like to see this commission address? If you have, just, if something occurs to you after this meeting, just, drop an email and we'll see what we can do to look at that. Okay, well, I won't belabor us. I don't see any more hands. You, Marco?
For myself, actually. So I just wanted to make sure, because I know it was part of the agenda. Did you want to discuss PRC recruitment, or was that something that was already discussed and I just missed it? My apologies.
No, I didn't discuss it. I forgot because we have a full commission. This is a very unusual experience. I don't think we've ever had a full commission since I've been here. It won't last long because Mark, I think, is going off in November and Trudy in December. So, but just thank you so much to the 3 new commissioners and to everybody else for such a great participation. It's a really wonderful group. And I'm so pleased to see everybody really stepping up and getting involved. So, but we will need at least 2 new people eventually. And so keep your ear to the grind, anyway, what's the saying?
Ground.
Keep your ear to the ground. Thank you. In case any friends or acquaintances or other people, colleagues that might be interested in serving. Thank you.
That's it for me.
Third time's a charm. Okay. All right. Well, I'll call the meeting adjourned, and thank you very much for your dedication and attention. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Jill. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.